Hello.
Hi.
Is that a good neck crack?
Yeah.
Good. My turn? Little one.
Excuse me. Are you ready?
Ready.
Hello, everyone. Today we are doing lesson 109. I rest in God, and we will be doing the correlating chapter text of chapter 11, God or the Ego, section 1, the gifts of fatherhood, paragraphs 4 through 11. Let us begin. Alex?
Chapter 11, God or the Ego, the gifts, section 1. Section 1, the gifts of fatherhood, paragraph 4. Waiting is possible only in time, but time has no meaning. You who may delay can leave time behind simply by recognizing that neither beginnings nor endings were created by the Eternal, who placed no limits on his creation or upon those who create like him. You do not know this simply because you have tried to limit what he created, and so you believe that all creation is limited. How, then, could you know your creations, having denied infinity? The laws of the universe do not permit contradiction. What holds for God holds for you. If you believe you are absent from God, you will believe that he is absent from you. Infinity is meaningless without you, and you are meaningless without God. There is no end to God and his Son, for we are the universe. God is not incomplete. He is not childless, because he did not will to be alone. He created a son like himself. Do not deny him his son, for your unwillingness to accept his fatherhood has denied you yours. See his creations as his son, for yours were created in honor of him. The universe of love does not stop because you do not see it, nor have your closed eyes lost the ability to see. Look upon the glory of his creation, and you will learn what God has kept for you.
Wow. It's amazing. I followed along with that, and I couldn't tell you what you just said.
Well, good. Then I guess I can continue reading because you've got no comments to make on that.
Well, no, because I'm basically, it was as if I wasn't even hearing you, even though I was following along. I wasn't comprehending it. It was like I wasn't hearing anything. Interesting. So in that first paragraph, what I'm getting is they're trying to get you to understand that your fear to make a choice and decision, your procrastination to make that any choice or decision, is based out of your fear to be responsible for those choices. And that you think that waiting around for something to happen, something to change, without you making an effort to change something for yourself, is where you have this tendency to block yourself from moving forward, from growing. You tend to corner and limit yourself from the limitless. And the law of the universe The laws of the universe do not permit contradiction. And it's true. It's like everything has its truth. And it has its place. And what God holds forth has no contradiction within it because it resonates as the truth. Once we recognize it for the truth it is and accept it, everything else starts falling away. All the contradictions to everything start falling away. And it's up to us to accept it. We've been taught to deny everything, anything and everything to do with God, to do with our responsibility for the choices we make. Please continue.
6. God has given you a place in His mind that is yours forever. Yet you can keep it only by giving it as it was given you. Could you be alone there when it was given you because God did not will to be alone? God's mind cannot be lessened. It can only be increased. For everything He creates has the function of creating. Love does not limit, and what is created is not limited. To give without limit is God's will for you, because only this can bring you the joy that is His and that He wills to share with you. Your love is as boundless as His because it is His.
Okay. Yeah, so we extend what we receive from God. Just as, yesterday's lesson and the paragraph sections and everything else, we're stating we extend what we receive from God. And just because we lack faith, trust, and belief in something does not mean that God does. What God wills cannot be lessened in any way, shape, or form. Just because we lack faith in it does not make it less true or less real. And it's recognizing that to love, it doesn't limit us. It frees us. It allows us to extend that joy within our hearts. And we can share that and extend that because that is what God is. That's what He extends to us. Love. Please continue.
7. Could any part of God be without His love? And could any part of His love be contained? God is your heritage because His one gift is Himself. How can you give except like Him if you would know His gift to you? Give, then, without limit and without end, to learn how much He has given you. Your ability to accept Him depends on your willingness to give as He gives. Your fatherhood and your Father are one. God wills to create, and your will is His. It follows then that you will to create, since your will follows from His, and being an extension of His will, yours must be the same.
Absolutely. It's like I was just saying, folks. You are extending the will and the love of God. When you extend that blessing and that love to your brother, you are extending God's will and God's love. And as I said yesterday, you cannot be apart from Him. You can't. It is not possible. You are part of God. And His love cannot be contained. And if that is so, that means your love cannot be contained, because if you are part of God and an extension of God, that makes you God. You are able to create in His likeness as He creates. That says a lot, folks. All right, let us continue. Alex, please.
8. Yet what you will, you do not know. This is not strange when you realize that to deny is to, quote, not know. God's will is that you are His son. By denying this, you deny your own will and therefore do not know what it is. You must ask what God's will is in everything, because it is yours. You do not know what it is, but the Holy Spirit remembers it for you. Ask Him, therefore, what God's will is for you, and He will tell you yours. It cannot be too often repeated that you do not know it. Whenever what the Holy Spirit tells you appears to be coercive is only because you have not recognized your will.
Wow. What does that bring to mind?
You know, I've never known any feelings of coerciveness from Holy Spirit.
Coercion. Yeah, neither have I. I mean, I have had Him yell at me.
Right.
I mean, out and out yell at me. And tell me that I'm mistaken in what I'm believing and thinking. Even come out and outright tell me you're wrong and what you're thinking here. You're wrong. Reevaluate it. You know, I keep telling you guys that in everything I ask, in everything you have to ask. And as it says here, you must ask what God's will is in everything, because it is yours. In everything, folks, not this or that. In everything. There comes a moment in time where we start to understand that every choice we make is truly our own choice and decision. And it's following that guidance that we are being given in the moment that helps us to see the truth of what we do. And that we are the responsible party for those choices that are being made, those decisions that are happening, and the responses that we receive from them, the experiences. And recognize that you can sit there arguing and fighting with Holy Spirit. You can sit there screaming and crying out that, you know, you're angry at God and you're angry at Holy Spirit for not giving you the answers you want to hear. Or like I did, standing there screaming, crying, and hollering that I'm only here to be used and abused. Crying out, why the fuck have me here if I won't ever know what the fuck love is? Huh? Screaming out things like that at God and Holy Spirit. And the answer to that, I've already shared it with you before, folks. They had me yell at myself. Is that true? In the middle of me crying torrential downpour of tears hysterically, They had me holler at myself. Is that true? Startled the fuck out of me. And let me tell you, I answered immediately, startled or not, no, it's not true. There are things that they do that they can do. They are not limited to anything we think, believe, and choose, honey. Consider that. Stop limiting God and Holy Spirit and Jesus and your guides to what you are thinking and believing to be true of how you are limited. It's like I said yesterday. Stop judging and killing the fucking messenger, people. Start listening to the damn message and stop crucifying the messenger. The messenger doesn't fucking matter here. It is the message that matters. Ask and you will receive. You have to ask in everything. Stop picking and choosing. Stop limiting God to what you think and believe He is capable of doing. God is not limited to your petty choices. Please continue.
9. The projection of the ego makes it appear as if God's will is outside of yourself, and therefore not yours. In this interpretation, it seems possible for God's will and yours to conflict. God, then, may seem to demand of you what you do not want to give, and thus deprive you of what you want. Would God, who only wants your will, be capable of this? Your will is His life, which He has given to you. Even in time you cannot live apart from Him. Sleep is not death. What He created can sleep, but cannot die. Immortality is His will for His Son, and His Son's will for Himself. God's Son cannot will death for Himself, because His Father is life, and His Son is like Him. Creation is your will because it is His.
Absolutely. And it's absolutely true. Projection is of the ego, folks. And projection would make you think that God's will is outside of you, that somebody else can tell you what God's will be, such as the priest, minister, rabbi, bishop, any one of those, and so many others, the prophet, the guru. All of them are ego-laden with the belief that they can tell you what God's will for you is. And that whatever they state it is your will, is what you have to accept as your will. God's will is not outside of you, folks. It's inside of you. Every time you try to accept someone else's judgment and opinion of what they think and believe is true and that you should or should not do, should or should not think, believe, and say, it creates conflict within you. It creates pain and suffering within you. And it constantly makes you feel as if Following the will of God is taking away your right to choose for yourself what feels good to you. That you're constantly having to bow down to God and somebody else's dictates as to what it is you need to do. Recognize God doesn't need a middleman, folks. God really doesn't need a middleman. That was a lie, a fabrication. Seriously, it was a lie, a fabrication created to get you to conform, to blindly follow and believe and conform to somebody else's dictates of what they thought and believed you should do or should not do, think and say, of how you should behave and how you should see yourself and think of yourself. That you are no longer a sovereign being, but you are now a slave. And if you really thought about it, like it says here, would God, who wants only your will, be capable of this? Really think about that. Would God be capable of doing all of these things? Because to do all these things means he would be doing it to himself. Would God really want to do all these things that I just mentioned? I think not. Methinks someone has lied to us, my brothers. You know, we've been taught that death is real, that death is the end, and to be afraid of it. We've been lied to. Death is not real. It's not the end. It's just another step on the journey of laying down one body and then picking up another. And this is why we're eternal, because we don't stop. We continue eternally, learning new things about ourselves, about what we are or are not capable of doing, creating, where our strengths are, weaknesses, things we need to work on, things that we're needing to heal and let go of. Please continue.
You cannot be happy unless you do what you will truly, and you cannot change this because it is immutable. It is immutable by God's will and yours, for otherwise his will would not be extended. You are afraid to know God's will because you believe it is not yours. This belief is your whole sickness and your whole fear. Every symptom of sickness and fear arises here because this is the belief that makes you want not to know. Believing this, you hide in darkness, denying that the light is in you. You asked to trust the Holy Spirit only because he speaks for you. He is the voice for God, but never forget that God did not will to be alone. He shares his will with you. He does not thrust it upon you. Always remember that what he gives, he keeps, so that nothing he gives can contradict him. You who share his life must share it to know it, for sharing is knowing. Blessed are you who learned that to hear the will of your Father is to know your own, for it is your will to be like him, whose will it is that it be so. God's will is that his Son be one, and united with him in his oneness. That is why healing is the beginning of the recognition that your will is his.
Absolutely. So, think about that, folks. What it says there, right there in the first sentence of paragraph 10. You cannot be happy unless you do what you will truly. In other words, folks, you cannot be happy unless you truly want what it is that you are asking for. Unless you truly believe that you will receive what it is you are asking for. Now think about that. You constantly ask for this and ask for that. But do you truly believe that you will receive what you are asking for? Because this is what it's talking about. Understand me clearly here, folks. What it is that you believe in fully, wholeheartedly, with your heart and mind and soul to be the truth. What you will, what you ask for is what you receive. But you have to know full and wholeheartedly that you will receive it. Otherwise, it's just a pipe dream. Do you get what I'm saying here? Is it making sense, honey?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in this thing it's talking about here, you are afraid to know God's will because you believe it is not yours. And how it says in the next sentence, this belief is your whole sickness and your whole fear. Everything you are holding forth is being true here and basing your entire freaking life on, folks, is based out of this belief. And this is what your entire sickness comes from, is believing that God's will is separate from yours. That whatever it is that you are thinking and believing to be true is separate from God's. That what you're wanting to believe in as being true is separate from God's will for you. That what you're choosing to experience is separate from God's will for you. This is the whole basis of where you are now. It's where it all came from. And it started with your ancestors and them choosing to believe that they were separate from God and that they knew what was best and right and good better than God. And they chose to pass on that belief. Think about that, folks. They passed it on to their progeny, their children, who then passed it on to theirs, and to theirs, and to theirs, and to theirs. And it was taught within their societies. It's a pattern repeated. Never questioned. Simply accepted as it was, as being the truth. And right now, you're being asked to set all that shit aside and to trust that Holy Spirit will guide you truly, will tell you the truth when you ask for it. And you are being asked to share what He gives you, to share what it is you are receiving from Him, to extend that to your brothers, exactly as you are receiving it. To trust that what He is sharing with you, what He is giving you in those moments is the absolute truth. and that you will receive the healing and the peace and love and joy that you are seeking. Recognize, folks, that you're the one that's choosing all these things. If you choose to truly look within at all this shit, you will see the truth here. That your whole sickness, your whole belief system is based off of the things you've been taught. And none of it's true. And if you can just understand that God wills for you whatever it is you choose to experience for yourself, you will find peace, joy, and happiness that He never wants you to suffer. That's your judgments at play, your own fears of being persecuted. All right, folks, that is chapter 11, God or the Ego, section 1, the gifts of fatherhood, paragraphs 4 through 11. Let us move on to the lesson of the day. Alex?
Workbook Lesson 109. I rest in God. We ask for rest today and quietness unshaken by the world's appearances. We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all the turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and for happiness, although we seem to look on danger and on sorrow. And we have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. Quote, I rest in God. This thought will bring you to the rest and quiet, peace and stillness, and the safety and the happiness you seek. Quote, I rest in God. This thought has power to wake the sleeping truth in you, whose vision sees beyond appearances to that same truth in everyone and everything there is. Here is the end of suffering for all the world, and everyone who ever came and yet will come to linger for a while. Here is the thought in which the Son of God is born again to recognize Himself.
Absolutely. You know, with all of the lessons that we've been doing, this first sentence in paragraph 1, we ask for rest today and quietness unshaken by the world's appearances. Every day we've been getting asked to go within and look at the truth of what it is we are thinking and believing to be true about ourselves and the world and our brothers within it. And to recognize that in everything we are the one in power, and that the choices that we choose to make in any given moment are what it is causing the conflict and pain and suffering within our own minds, hearts, and bodies. And that when we choose to extend the love of God to our brothers with compassion and understanding, that we feel peace and joy. And this, we ask for rest today, is to help us to recognize that even in the chaos that's around us, we can find peace. If we truly go within and seek and ask for God's will in whatever it is that we're experiencing in the moment, we will find peace and stillness and an answer, clear, true. And it's us being willing to accept what's being laid before us in those moments that will give us that peace that we seek. And it's as you go throughout your day, your week, your life, the hours, recognizing that you rest in God. You are always resting in God. It's only your judgments of everything that makes you think that you are not, that your world is in utter chaos. And if you can grasp that in every moment you are supported and loved and cared for, and all your wants and desires and needs are met as they truly are needed, that the truth will awaken in you, that you do rest in God in any given moment and in every moment. Please continue.
I rest in God. Completely undismayed, this thought will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onward to the certainty of God. There is no suffering it cannot heal. There is no problem that it cannot solve, and no appearance but will turn to truth before the eyes of who rest in God, of you who rest in God. This is the day of peace. You rest in God, and while the world is torn by winds of hate, your rest remains completely undisturbed. Yours is the rest of truth. Appearances cannot intrude on you. You call to all to join you in your rest, and they will hear and come to you because you rest in God. They will not hear another voice than yours because you gave your voice to God, and now you rest in Him and let Him speak through you.
Absolutely. You know, as I share with you folks and extend to you these truths and the healings that have been given me, I rest in God. And it is because of this that my brothers are able to hear me and hear the truth. Because I allow and I let Him speak through me. By choosing to accept what He has laid before me as the truth, I then open myself and I allow Him to speak through me through extension and sharing of the truth that has been shown me. And as I do this, as I rest completely in the truth that is handed to me, all strife, all dismay, all discomfort, all fear falls away from me as if it was never, ever there. And I find peace in everything. Peace in everything. I look out on the world and I see what my brothers speak of as suffering, and I see it as the misperceptions they are choosing to hold on to as being true. To understand that they are choosing to judge whatever they are experiencing in the moment. Whatever they are witnessing in the moment, they are judging. And that's why they are not at peace. That's why they are hurting and in pain and suffering in those moments. They judge. You know, in appearances, they cannot hide the truth. If someone is trying to fake it, it's known. If they try to put up a false facade and mask, trying to hide who they are, it's known. It's instantly known that something's not right. Something is off. And if you truly are resting in God, you will know this instantly. They don't even have to open their mouth. You will just simply know something's not right. And it's in those moments that you step back and you allow God to speak through you, to speak the truth of what it is you perceive and witness. Please continue.
In Him you have no cares and no concerns, no burdens, no anxiety, no pain, no fear of future, and no past regrets. In timelessness you rest, while time goes by without its touch upon you, for your rest can never change in any way at all. You rest today, and as you close your eyes, sink into stillness. Let these periods of rest and respite reassure your mind that all its frantic fantasies were but the dreams of fever that has passed away. Let it be still and thankfully accept its healing. No more fearful dreams will come now that you rest in God. Take time today to slip away from dreams and into peace. Each hour that you take your rest today, a tired mind is suddenly made glad. A bird with broken wings begins to sing. A stream long dry begins to flow again. The world is born again each time you rest, and hourly remember that you came to bring the peace of God into the world, that it might take its rest along with you.
Absolutely. You know, the rest it's speaking of in this is a letting go. A letting go of all the things that you think you need to stress and worry over that you've been taught are supposed to be the most important things in the world. I mean, granted, folks, the bills need to get paid, the rent needs to get paid, things like that. And yeah, those do need to be prioritized because they do need to be taken care of. But the petty little things, whether or not all the laundry got done all at once, whether all the dishes got washed, the floors swept and mopped, it's the petty little shit. Honestly, those are the kinds of things that really don't matter and really have no value. That stress and worry about what other people are going to think about you and yours. And it's wanting you to recognize that sometimes stepping back and just sitting down on your ass and relaxing for a minute and letting go all those things that have been piled up on you as being your responsibility, to just rest for even 5 short minutes and just look at your life and be grateful that you have the things you do. And to ask what all of it's for of Him. And to trust the answer you're given that everything is for your benefit. And if there's pain coming in there, then recognize you're judging something. You're trying to hold on to something that is not true. So take the time today, folks, to just sit still and think about these things that they're asking of you. To just rest in Him and trust that you are supported in everything. That everything will be provided for you. And that He will guide you truly to what it is you need in the moment. Please continue.
With each 5 minutes that you rest today, the world is nearer waking. And the time when rest will be the only thing there is comes closer to all worn and tired minds, too weary now to go their way alone. And they will hear the bird begin to sing and see the stream begin to flow again, with hope reborn and energy restored, to walk with lightened steps along the road that suddenly seems easy as they go. You rest within the peace of God today and call upon your brothers from your rest to draw them to their rest along with you. You will be faithful to your trust today, forgetting no one, bringing everyone into the boundless circle of your peace, the holy sanctuary where you rest. Open the temple doors and let them come from far across the world and near as well, your distant brothers and your closest friends. Bid them all enter here and rest with you. You rest within the peace of God today, quiet and unafraid. Each brother comes to take his rest and offer it to you. We rest together here, for thus our rest is made complete, and what we give today we have received already. Time is not the guardian of what we give today. We give to those unborn and those passed by, to every thought of God, and to the mind in which these thoughts were born and where they rest, as we remind them of their resting place each time we tell ourselves, I rest in God.
Absolutely. So what they're asking you to do, folks, is with each 5 minutes that you rest today, that you recognize that the world is nearer waking completely, that all your brothers are starting to wake up to who they are, that they're starting to question what they've been taught, that they're recognizing that much of the stuff that they are being told they have to conform to doesn't resonate within their heart. And so they are questioning it and asking for the truth of what it is that they've been taught to do. And as all of us have been on these journeys for a very many years, we find ourselves becoming tired toward the end, because we recognize how long this journey truly has been, and that we are getting close, but sometimes it feels like we just can't make it those last few steps. And it's when we take that tact, that notice that I rest in God, that in everything at any given moment in time, I rest in God. And it's that recognition that everything is of Him and for my benefit, that He is putting together what I need to grow. And as I choose to accept these things He's handing to me, these gifts He's giving me, I can extend them to my brothers and bring them with me through the nightmarish hell that they have chosen to believe in is their life. I can pull them forward into the light with me by handing them the truth and sharing my truth with them, by allowing Him to speak through me to them. And to recognize that as I rest in God, I can have them and bring them in to rest with me in those moments. Just as you see our animals doing now. In these moments, I am resting in God that I will be shown what it is that I need to know and understand. That in everything, I will be guided to say whatever is needed so that you, my brothers, can understand and heal what I have already healed for me. And to emphasize strongly that you must ask. If you want the truth, you must ask for it. Question everything and ask for the truth of what His will is for you. Until you ask, you will not receive. You will not receive, brothers. You have to ask. All right. That was lesson 109. I rest in God, with the correlating chapter text of chapter 11, God or the Ego, section 1, the gifts of fatherhood, paragraphs 4 through 11. Please do the work, folks. Only you can do this work. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sabrina Reyenga.
And my name is Alex Reyenga.
Hugs, love, light, and blessings on your journey, my brothers. You are loved. We love you. Please be the light you are meant to be. Please be the light we know you to be. Please be the light we see you to be. Please choose to be the light. You are loved. We love you. Blessings on your journey. Have a glorious day. Bye.